As we saw earlier with Steve, the beef program is underway, and one of the people that Steve mentioned, who's working working as a great team, is Jason Archer. Jason, as you may be aware, has just recently joined AbacusBio to contribute in a range of areas from genetics to farm systems and the agribusiness. Jason is a strategic thinker with a wide range of experience in agricultural research and management in New Zealand and Australia. Having held senior leadership and governance roles in R&D, he works with clients across the value chain from on-farm through to processing and marketing, identifying opportunities for new approaches to add value to the business.
So we're really just getting the beef stuff underway, and I guess it's a reflection of, it is a bit of a slower start, but it's a reflection of there's been very little done in beef genetics in New Zealand for probably 20 odd years or more. And one of the projects that we're setting up is an evaluation of beef genetics, and it's really a program that we'll hope to run on several sites through New Zealand, but I'll talk about one site in particular at the moment, which is Whangara Farms up near Gisborne. And what we're trying to achieve there in this, well, just to give you a bit of background about Whangara Farms, it's a Maori-owned corporate farming entity. It's touch over 7,000 hectares, so it's got some scale. It's Gisborne Hill country, but also some good finishing country as part of that. Richard Schofields the general manager there. So yeah, 30,000 ewes, 1,650 beef cows. As I said, got some real scale about it. It's got some significant productivity improvements happening. So in the last 7 odd years, it's gone from less than $100 per hectare in terms of effective farm surpluses up to now over 400. So it's really ramping up the game. So the goal of this project, so Whangara themselves have a really specific goal around, they want to raise their compliance of their cattle going into their beef EQ market to 75% hitting specs, which is a fairly ambitious goal, but that's where they want to get to. I guess the wider goal of the program is also to measure the impact that investments in genetics has in their beef enterprise and to really quantify that value. And so that really is about trying to show people that actually getting the right sort of bulls and investing in genetics does actually realise real returns on commercial farms. And so that's about confidence to do that and to get the market going perhaps to a greater extent than what it is at the moment. And also Steve talked this morning about New Zealand farming systems and the need to demonstrate some of these technologies and to prove their use under New Zealand farming systems, and particularly look at that tension that sits there between the maternal cow performance and meeting market specifications, so the finishing performance of animals. So how big is that tension? Are the bulls that we can find that do both? And as part of it too, when we're collecting data and DNA and that sort of thing, it's always a useful platform for then taking things forward to the next step, so improving some outcomes. And Steve talked about antral follicle counts for heifer selection, and also about other ways that we can think about improving cow performance and fertility. So it's really just kicking off with an AI program which we hope to be putting semen in the cows at the beginning of December. There's been a bunch of BLGs subsidised a bunch of Angus bulls to be tested in the Australian Angus sire benchmark program, and we'll use some of those bulls here as well to generate links to Australia and to cooperate with Australia. So in terms of the bull selection, and this is a meld between science requirements and also the commercial requirements of the farm. And so we want to use some bulls which you might call traditional types. I struggle with the phrases, words to describe these things, but I guess more maternally focused types might be one way of talking about it, and to use some bulls which are more carcass focused, I suppose, and particularly for Whangara around the marbling, basically, intramuscular fat percentage. We're working with Focus Genetics in this program as well. So Focus Genetics had been considering doing a similar program rather than duplicate each other. We've sort of combined forces, so there'll be some bulls there from Focus Genetics. There'll be some natural service size, so the size that they have on farm, we will actually evaluate them, and just as part of the design of doing that, we need to breed a handful of those by AI. We'll also open it up to bulls from Angus breeders around the country, but to meet the farm's requirements, they will need to be bulls of a certain standard and a certain type, I suppose, as well, to keep that farm going in the direction they are. And then we'll also put in some elite bulls, so some internationally available AI bulls that are proven, just to set a benchmark there as well. And because their farm also uses some Simmental as terminal size, they're also interested in looking at a couple of those size. So that's roughly where we'll be going. So the outcomes that we'll get from this, we'll be looking at questions like how do the EBVs of the bulls we're using relate to beef EQ grading and also to the maternal performance. So we'd like to then follow these cows through for the long term. Steve put up a graph before about cow survival, and so which bulls are leaving daughters there that stay in the herd, that reproduce every year to be able to stay in the herd and generally cope with the conditions that they run under. Talked before about that trade-off between that maternal performance and carcass, and also to look at the value of tools and genetics at that commercial level. So not at the breeder level, but really at a commercial level farm, saying how are these tools helping us? Can we do things like scan heifer replacements for marbling, and is that effective? And are the genomic tools that we can perhaps use and work with companies like Zoetis for development to help heifer selection at the commercial level? But I guess that the overall question is to try and demonstrate what impact genetics is having on beef profitability in a really commercial type environment. So that's pretty much it, and of course acknowledging the partners there, so as well as Beef and Lamb Genetics, Whangara Farms themselves, Silverfern Farms and Zoetis are also involved in the program.
One of a number of properties?
Yes, yep. So we'll be working with some of a Landcourt farm that Daniel from Focus has been identifying. We'll also be working with probably Taratahi, and we're still looking at some South Island sites as well to see what we might do down here. If we want to prove animals and some
kick off this year or there for next year?
Some of those North Island ones will kick off this year. I'd love to kick off a South Island one this year too. We're getting pretty tight for time frame, and so we're challenged.
And we're also looking for commercial farms with a significant number of Herefords that we could run a program in. We've been talking to the Hereford Association, and any suggestions that would be come and talk to us afterwards. Thanks very much. Hamish.
How many progeny per bull are you aiming for?
It varies a little bit, but depending on the purpose of the individual bull choices, but in general we're AIing 50 cows, trying to get 25 to 30 progeny per bull. So not a super accurate evaluation on each bull, but it's these things are always a compromise, as you well know. In some instances, rather than using a single bull, we'll use sort of a cocktail of bulls to represent a type or that sort of thing. And you know, the Australians are telling us that actually has a better result for linkage or connectedness than just using one particular sire, because basically the EBV of a team of bulls is actually quite stable compared to the EBV of an individual bull. So yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag, but in general 50 cows per sire and a moderately accurate evaluation on an individual bull.